Basilisk, and today is a very special day. As we can see the lineups of the teams, we can see their ELOs as well. Oh my god, Serral with 918 ELO. I believe Maru has more. But a very high ELO here from Serral. Very, very nice. As we have our lineups before us, Clem versus Trigger, Kelazhur versus Reynor, and Mana versus Serral. Now, today's a special day. We mentioned it last night. Today, we say goodbye to a partnership that has been together for many, many years. Kelazhur. Kelazhur has been on Team Liquid for many years at this point, and he announced that he is leaving Team Liquid, and this is his last time competing, representing Team Liquid. So it's a little bit sad, it's been really cool to see Team Liquid support Kelazhur for as long as they have. I know that for a while he was working for Team Liquid in other capacities. I think there was like an internship and some other things going on. So really cool to see Kelazhur supported for so long. But alas, he will be leaving Team Liquid. He is still looking for a team. Kelazhur did already announce that he is open to offers and open to join another team. And hopefully Kelazhur lands on his feet. He may even join another WTL team. It's possible. It's possible he may be picked up. But alas, this will be his last day representing them. Meanwhile, we'll get into some more Kelazhur, some more Diego action as we are getting into our first lineup here, Clem versus Trigger in a TVP. Oh, let's go. And again, for those wondering, the way that this works is the first map is predetermined, the second map is loser's pick. Now, we are playing on the new patch. But because the lineups were announced last week, like the players have had a week to play and practice and improve, the lineups were announced before the patch went live, before the maps went live. So because of that, we're starting with the old maps. And here we go in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the French Terran player for Team Liquid. It is Clem. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the Canadian Protoss player for Team Basilisk, Trigger. Here we go. The TVPs are upon us. Now, again, what I was trying to get at is that because the lineups were announced last week before the patch went live, and we didn't know when the patch was coming out and when the new maps were coming out, because the lineups were announced, the initial starting maps were also announced. So that couldn't be changed ahead of time. That couldn't be changed on the fly because the players have been practicing specifically for Dragon Scales or Neo Humanity and all that stuff. So because of that, the starting map is going to be of the old map pool, but the loser's pick can be from the new map pool. It can also be from the old one. So loser's pick, we could see a new map or we could see an older map. It is up to the loser from game one to decide. But because of that, I believe, now that I think about it, this is going to be our last time casting on these old maps. The ESL Open Cups, I think, are on the new maps. OC King of the Hill is going to be on the new maps. I think this is our last time. So this is going to be a bit of a farewell. To Dragon Scales, a bit of a farewell to Neo Humanity. Get the hell out of here, Neo. Bit of a farewell to Neo Humanity, and it's these maps, they've been with us for quite some time, and we've had some ups, we've had some downs, we've had a lot of great matches, a lot of great games had on them, and this will be our farewell story to them. For the time being, we do see Clem going for a Rax Expand, a very economic opener out of our blue Terran player, going for a single gas opener. Meanwhile, our Protoss is going for a Gate Expand as well, so nothing too crazy here in the early game. Everything looking very standard, very by the book. I don't really expect to see Trigger do anything too crazy. I know that we have compared Trigger to MaxPax in the past when it comes to, the young talent in the NA scene and his kind of rise through the ranks, but Trigger is more of a standard player. He's less experimental compared to MaxPax, less experimental compared to Estrella as well, who is known for being a little bit more of a wild player in the NA region. Meanwhile, hello Clem. Factory is about to finish up, but we're going to go for a proxy starport. What is our plan here with that SV? Meanwhile, Trigger going for a Twilight Council opener, and yes, it is a proxy starport. So Clem going to be a little bit aggressive here. He has a Hellions initially. With that starport, he can go for a Hellion drop into the main with a medevac, or he can go for a Hellion run by into the natural and a Liberator into the main instead. So one or the other, both are available for Clem. We'll see which one he goes for. But with this Twilight Council opener, Trigger is going to be yeah, it can be a little bit more assertive. I'm curious how many gateways he's going to go up to. You can go 2 gate, 3 gate, or even 4 gateways. Each one requires a different response, each one a different level of aggression from our red Protoss player. As the Hellions have been spotted, Adepts do shade into the main, and I wonder if Trigger can piece it together. He sees the lack of add-ons, he sees the lack of starport. Yeah, he's checking, he's looking for the starport, he's checking over on the right-hand side of the map. Little does he know that the starport is over towards the left instead. And it is going to be a drop. So medevac on the way, not a liberator, it is going to be a drop into the main base. And Trigger, will he be in position or will he be caught out on the map? As the Adepts are coming back home, the Stalker as well. And Clem is boosting on into the main base, looking for some economic damage. Trigger is in position. He is ready in the main. For the Hellions, they go for the natural instead. Oof, and the probes are lining up. Oh, God, 4 probes already. Oh, no! As a couple were left idle, 9 probes go down for only 1 Hellion. Despite Trigger anticipating this, despite him being in the main base, he is unable to keep up. He's being pulled apart. 12. No, not again. 12 versus 15. 18 probes go down. And this will be cleaned up, but you can see Trigger's reaction on cams. You can see him slouch as well after he cleaned it up. 18 worker kills. That is game-ending damage. That is a lot to recover from. Trigger, he's going across the map. He's going for a counterattack. The onus is on Trigger to do some counter damage, but yeah, again, on the cams, you can see his reaction. You can see that he's a little bit deflated after the early game. Back at home, 2 bunkers, tanks as well. Like Clem, he knows all he has to do is defend. All he has to do is he expects an all-in. If he survives, he wins. That is all that is concerning Clem at the moment. And yeah, with these 2 bunkers, there is no way for this natural base to be broken. Trigger, he will have high ground vision, so he has the opportunity to blink into the main. But he can't reinforce. There's no war prism. I think he's on 3 gateways, and yeah, he's going for a 3rd base. He's going for an expansion. Trigger, we'll see if he can get anything done in the main. Robotics Bay is on the way. Does blink into the main. He has 4 stalkers available. Takes a big tank shot to the face though. And yeah, he won't be able to get too much done. Does get 2 SCVs. It's something. It is something, don't get me wrong. And hey, we even forced a little bit of friendly fire as well. 6 workers in the natural. Pretty good. That tank helping out the Protoss. That tank is a Trigger fan. That helps kill a couple of extra SCVs there in the natural base. But yeah, outside of that, again, this is still not enough to recover. There's still a lot of pressure on Trigger. He's going towards charge, going towards a Robotics Bay. And really, Clem is just building himself up. We're waiting for the upgrades to kick in. Not just him, but combat shields +1. Clem, he's just building up his tank count, building up his army for one big push on 2 bases. And that push is going to be looking to end the game. We'll see if Clem decides to throw down a 3rd CC. I don't think he needs to. I think if he wanted to just even commit to a 2-base all-in, he probably could. As he does notice the Observer, does snipe it. Is going to be keeping Trigger in the dark. But at the same time, in saying the fact that I don't think Clem needs to expand, if he were to throw down a 3rd CC, it would just secure him, really. And there we go, 3rd CC is on the way, so he isn't all-in. He can just get further ahead, take a 3rd base, get even more workers, get saturation, and here is that push that we were talking about. The big end-the-game push here from Clem. 4 tanks, Marauders, Marines, Stim, Combat Shields is on the horizon. It's going to finish up by the time the army gets across the map. Same with +1. So this is all lined up to hit with those upgrades once the army gets across the map. Now we do have a cluster. We do have some force fields. Force fields, they will slow down the army, but they don't cut up the army. So merely slowing down Clem as he's going to be pushing it through the center. Didn't really lose too much. There we go. The tanks are slowly sieging forward. Now we have 2 Colossi to defend. These sentries don't have too much energy left. We have 2 shield batteries on the right-hand side with an overcharge. But Clem is just wedging himself in between these bases, forcing a Trigger back, forcing him to push into tank range. And there we go. 1 Colossus goes down instantly. And the 2nd Colossus as well. GG gets called, and Clem takes game number 1. GG, well played. Again, was pretty straightforward. after the economic damage. The reality is that Clem was in the driver's seat as soon as he killed all those workers. That was what, 18 probe kills? Again, at that point, it was game-ending. Trigger, he stayed in it because obviously this is a tournament game, and he wanted to, you know, there's always a slim chance that Clem miscontrols. Maybe Clem goes for some drops and he loses the medevacs, or he overextends and loses a tank or something along those lines. So Trigger, he did play it out, did try to find a way to come back in, but alas, Clem was a little bit too solid, and game one will go in favor of Clem. Trigger, of course, has a chance to come back. It is going to be his map of choice. Now, I'm curious. Trigger, if he wants to, he could go for an older map. That is possible. But if he has experience with the new map pool, it would be wise to go for the new maps. Just because the new maps are only live on NA, they're not live on EU, so I don't know how much experience Clem has on them. I know that Clem did play in the Wardy event, the Wardy PTR event, or the patch tournament. I'm not too sure if the new map pool was incorporated there. If it was, then of course Clem also has plenty of experience as well, and is more than willing to whip out the Mass Cyclone if need be. So it is going to be risky here. Of course, Clem being the best Terran player in Europe, he is the clear favorite coming into this. That is represented by the ELO rankings. I do think that they're being a little bit harsh on Trigger. Like, Trigger, he's an up-and-comer in NA, and Trigger, he has his moments. He has his moments where he looks damn good, taking down Bjorn, taking down Gumiho, taking down Clem as well, and going toe-to-toe with Maru. Trigger, he has shown that in the mid to late game, if he can get to the mid to late game in a good economic position, he can keep up with the best players out there. But he has to get there first. So I imagine we're going to be seeing a larger map. I'm thinking like maybe an Ancient Cistern, maybe a Gresvan, if we're talking about the old map pool. When it comes to the newer one, maybe a map like, Hecate, for example, or not quite Golden Aura. I'm thinking of... And in the top left-hand corner of Site Delta, we have a Team Liquid Clem. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have a Team Basilisk, the Canadian Protoss player. It is a Trigger. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Again, it seemed like we had some issues when it comes to picking and setting up for the second game, but we have arrived here on Site Delta. I mentioned before that the starting maps are going to be the old map pool. The loser's pick, though, can be from the new map pool, and Trigger has decided he's going to be playing it out here on Site Delta. An interesting choice, might I add. Now, I assumed coming into this that Trigger, he wants to get into the mid game, wants to get into the late game. He wants to survive the early game while sustaining as little damage as possible. He wants Clem to back the hell off and give him some breathing room. And this is an interesting map for it. The rush distance by ground is, it is fairly straightforward here, very similar to Lightshade, for those of you that remember that map, as Clem gets across the map and he's going to be going for an eBay block here at the natural base. Trigger does see this ahead of time. Can he stop this? As boys are being pulled. Lost mining time for Trigger, as early on here Clem is trying to be as annoying as possible. Already a lot of progression on that eBay, but Trigger will not be forced to take the unnatural natural. Now, when it comes to the base layout here, I do think that these four bases can be quite secure. I mean, we saw a TVT earlier today on this map. We've seen a couple of TVTs actually on this map where you can just kind of fortify yourself and set yourself up on four bases. The fifth is a little bit more precarious. Oh, that's a kill! Ay, the observer pointing that out. That was not a cancel. Clem gritting his teeth a little bit there on cams. Bit of a misstep there from our blue Terran player. Okay, Trigger. Yeah, you can see Clem just shaking his head a little bit. Trigger. It's getting to the mental poppy, the hexagon. It's going down. But Trigger, suddenly things aren't looking too bad for him. Initially it was a rough start, having the big delay on the Nexus the way that we saw, but now he's able to get it up on location. The 125 minerals down the drain for Clem, and once again he's committing to a proxy starport. Now, this could be a setup for a Hellion drop again, or it could be, as I mentioned before, a Liberator instead, with Hellions into the natural and a Liberator into the main. One way or the other, Clem, he's investing a lot here into being aggressive early on. He wants to be in the face of Trigger, wants to once again be in the driver's seat and gain an economic advantage. It's going to be a Twilight Council opener from Trigger. It is going to be Blink Stalkers once again. But it's all about, will Trigger be in position? Can he be there to actually deny this, as it is going to be a medevac on the way from Clem? It is going to be a Hellion drop for a second time. We saw that this basically won Clem the game in game 1. Will it do the same here in game 2? Oh boy. Smooge. Here we go, as 4 Hellions are making their way across the map. Stalker doesn't quite get eyes on this. We do have a 3-gate blink set up here from Trigger. Blink is on the way. Warp Gate about to finish up. Oh, Trigger is out on the map here with some of his units. He's not back at home. Uh-oh. Hellions are going to be going on in. There is one Stalker in position, but the Hellions, they make a beeline for the mineral line once again. This time probes are being pulled. They are being split up. No! They line up! Oh, they lined up for a moment there. 6 workers go down, and we just drop into the natural. 8 workers, 9 in total. We go back into the main, bouncing back and forth between these bases, catching even more workers. Now, thankfully, this isn't as much as last time, but 13 probes. That's pretty close. That is a lot. And once again, you can see Trigger shaking his head on cams. It's not looking good here. 13 workers. Almost the mineral line, and we're not done. The Hellions are coming back in. They want some more damage. Oof. So it was 13, now it's gonna be 16, 17. Trigger leaning back in his chair there. That was basically as much as game 1. That 17 workers this early on is game ending. At least Clem lost at eBay. You know, it's not as bad as last time. You know, last time it was one extra probe as well, copium. But the pressure's on Trigger. The pressure is on Trigger to do some counter damage. And here we go. He gets across the map here with his Stalkers, with his Adept as well. Trying to do what he can, but he will lose the Adept. Oh, gets within range of the tanks. And Clem is holding. His economy is untouched. His tanks are untouched. Trigger going straight for a 3rd. And can he hold on? Now, really, Clem is not going to be able to like reap his rewards until a little bit later. Just like the previous game, we're waiting here for Clem to build up towards Stim, towards Combat Shields +1, get his tank count up. You know, Trigger, he has some time here to potentially do some counter damage. He has some time to potentially recover. He's picked off a couple of Marines here and there. There's potential once he gets high ground vision to maybe blink into the main and like snipe an add-on, maybe get a tank, maybe get some more SCVs. We need Trigger to make some magic happen. As he does get one worker. Oof. He takes a tank shot to the face. Behind this Trigger very quickly going into charge and a Templar Archives for Archons. As we do see Clem, yeah, just, you know, doing everything he should. You know, he's just getting into his build, Stim, Combat Shields, +1, all in production. His tank count slowly getting higher and higher, Marauders as well. Ooh, bold move. Trigger is rushing into Storm. This is a way to come back in this game. This is a way to deal with the army. 1 or 2 good Storms will clean up a Bio Force, and it will allow Trigger to survive and get into a longer game. But before we can talk about Storm, we have to talk about the drop. It's only 1 medevac, but it is going to be hitting with Stim, and it is unscouted. And Trigger is hyper fixated at the natural. You know, he's focusing on his Stalkers. He's been poking and prodding time and time again. The army is getting ready for the move out. And this is going to be distracting Trigger. The Trigger, he does pull back. Storm, I think, is barely going to finish in time. How many High Templar do we have? That is the question. How many? 3 High Templar are moving out for Trigger. He's going to be here on the high ground. He's going to be coming in for a flank. Meanwhile, the drop sneaks into the main base. Oh. And Clem is going to get a lot of economic damage done here. 3 workers go down. He gets a 4th as well. He's forcing a big reaction. Big storms! Massive storms on the army of Clem. That's exactly what Trigger needed. As he's going to be losing all of his High Templar in the process. Going to be a rough loss here for Trigger. But he did take down a lot of Marines. And now the Zealots, they can clean up. They come in from behind and they get on top of one tank, they get on top of a second, and they get on top of the third tank as well. Oh my god, a Trigger, he is holding, he cleans up the Marines, cleans up the tanks. The only things that survive are Marauders. The stars have aligned and Trigger is pulling off a beautiful defense. And fool me once, shame on you, but Clem is not stopping. He's rallying everything across the map. He doesn't want it to end. He doesn't want the game to progress from here. He wants to break Trigger here and now. Mine shots are going to be going off. The Zealots are going to be going down. And now the Marauders, they can get on top of the Stalkers and the High Templar. And it looks like this is too much. It looks like it is too much. A couple of Zealots are trickling on in. The High Templar got focused down. More reinforcements are making their way across the map. Despite the storms, despite the cleanup, despite not having any tanks, Clem still has too much. And that just goes to show how far ahead he was in the early game. Losing 17 probes at the start is just so much to overcome. Too much to overcome. That's Trigger. He's getting another Warping of Zealots. We do have a proxy gateway across the map that is set up. Trigger, he's surviving as he loses another Stalker. Scans ahead of time, trying to get a read on whether or not there is a storm. Zealots looking for a wraparound as well, trying to catch reinforcements and come in from behind. But the High Templar gets caught out. No. High Templar will go down. Big mine shots are going to be going off. The Zealots, they are annihilated. We do have another wave of 6 Zealots on the way. Trigger, he's again trying to stabilize. No shield battery, no overcharge. Another Stalker goes down. Can we pull off another miracle defense somehow, some way, without High Templar, without Storm? Can we do it? So they close the gap, but we have more reinforcements coming in. The mines. As we kite back to the mines. Real good kiting coming in from Clem. As the Nexus is going to get targeted down. High Templar is recalled back home. We have a Storm. Decent Storm. We have one more as well in the chamber. As Trigger is zoned away from his own natural base. Templar Archives goes down. The retargeting on the Zealots on the High Templar as well. Oh, one High Templar goes down. As we just pick up and we drop into the third base. Trigger having a really hard time keeping up, but the Nexus does fall. Again, I'm really impressed by how well Trigger has been able to fight despite that. Again, despite losing 17 probes, he fought well. And again, that goes to show that imagine if Trigger had a good early game. You know, imagine if he didn't lose an entire mineral line, then he may even be winning right now. You know, I mentioned before, like Trigger, if he's able to get into the mid game or the late game, he can go toe-to-toe with Clem, with Beyond, with Mario, with all these Terran players. But it's that early game. It's where Clem was able to just cripple his opponent. The Zealots are going down. High Templar forced to morph into Archons. No more Storms are available. As Trigger is all in. But with the death of those Zealots, there's nothing to protect these Stalkers. Nothing to protect the Archons either. GG gets called, and Clem will take the series 2-0. Having a strong start here for Team Liquid. GG. Again, off of the back of these Hellion drops, just annihilating the mineral lines time and time again, 2 games in a row. Again, early on it can be really difficult to keep up with them, especially without Blink. Obviously, at that early on you don't have Blink. You are heavily reliant on the positioning of your initial units. If they are a little bit too far away, then those Hellions, they will pull you apart. GG, well played. Congratulations to Clem. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We are just diving right into the game. In the top left-hand corner for Team Liquid, we have Kelazhur. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner for Team BASILISK, we have Reynor. I thought we would have a little bit of extra time once we did get into the head-to-head, but it looks like the players just want to dive right on in. And I mentioned it before that this is, of course, the last time that Kelazhur will be representing Team Liquid before he does step away from the team and look for greener pastures, or look for another team to represent as we do get into DreamHack. So I do hope that Kelazhur finds a nice home. I do know that there are some WTL teams out there that could definitely benefit from Kelazhur. I'm thinking of like Starlight Twinkle, for example. I think that'd be actually a really good team for him. And then potentially some other teams as well. So hopefully Kelazhur does find a good place. Meanwhile, we do see Reynor back at home just going for a hatch. Sorry, I believe it was a 15 hatch. It was a 15 hatch into a spawning pool into his eventual gas geyser here. So yeah, Reynor just making sure he's able to get his base up and running. This is a delayed gas opener, so because that link speed is going to be late here for Reynor, we'll see how heavily he delays it, as there we go, gas is now being taken by our Italian Zerg player. And I'm excited. I'm excited because Kelazhur, he is a player that really does explore, and he does kind of try out some new builds whenever he can. He's willing to think outside the box. So maybe not here in game 1, but maybe even in game 2, we may see something different, something special with Cyclones. We saw Vindicta try Mass Cyclone yesterday in the Platinum Heroes match, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kelazhur is willing to play with the new Cyclones a little bit as well. Again, this is on the new patch. This may be on the old map pool, but new patch nonetheless. And game 2 can also be on the new maps. It is up to the loser to decide. But now First Reaper is moving out across the map, just going to be getting a read on things. Kelazhur did go for a Rax Expand. No 2 Rax opener here from Kelazhur. He's, of course, capable of doing so, but is opting to go for a much more standard opener. As Reaper is just dipping between the bases, keeping an eye on things. Interesting, Reynor, he's going to be delaying his 3rd base. He goes for a faster 3rd and 4th queen instead. This may just be because of his opener, because he did have delayed gases, but yeah, really interesting. A really safe play out of Reynor. Doesn't want to get caught out, doesn't want to lose anything needlessly. Oh, as we do have a Kelazhur going into a 1-1-1. Interesting. Kelazhur once again going in, confirming the lack of 3rd base, going for a drone, but will not quite get one. And yeah, Kelazhur is going to be hyper-aggressive here, going for a starport before CC. There's that add-on swap upon us. Going for Banshees, I imagine. As the Hellions are moving out for map control. There we go. Banshees are on the way. Reynor is setting up for a Roach opener. Interesting. So this is something that a lot of people, myself included, have been theorizing. I've been really excited to see Reynor and Serral in ZVT in the current patch. Because of certain changes, a lot of people have been theorizing that Lingbane openers are a little bit of the past, and in the new patch, Roach openers are going to be a lot more common. It has already been shifting in that direction because of the 2-Rax Beyond opener. Roach openers have been, again, a lot more prevalent in the meta just because it keeps you safe against that sort of heavy bio aggression. And here, even here against Kelazhur, Reynor, he is opening up Roaches. I don't want to be all doom and gloom and say that this is like the end. Oh my god, as we do knock the queen up. Crazy. The Hellions do dive into the mineral line. 3 drones are going to be going down as they head into the main base. Boys have to be pulled. Good split here from Reynor, but drones are going down nonetheless. 7 workers do go down. A pretty good amount of damage here, but Kelazhur does relinquish map control. Meanwhile, in the main base, he's setting up for a 2-base all-in. We have 3 Raxes. Banshee production, of course, the Banshees to move out across the map. The Banshees are going to do well against this Roach opener. It means that the Roaches, they won't have as much staying power. Immediately forced off the mineral line. This Banshee taking control of the natural base. There is no detection. Not yet. Overseer's on the way, and it does finish up just in time. The Banshee will go down for only 2 kills. Good reaction there out of Reynor. At the same time, he's going across the map. He does come in for a scout with the Overseer. He confirms the lack of CC. He confirms the 2-base all-in. And, I mean, he's already got Roaches. 1-1 is on the way. But what I was getting at, as the Queen was getting knocked up, is that I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but again, like Ling Bane has been hit quite hard in the new patch, and not just that, but also because of some of the advantages that Terra now has, or some of the shifts in the meta and some of the changes to certain units. It does mean that we may just see more roach-heavy style or more roach-heavy composition in general in ZVT, which is a shame. Just because I think we all love Ling Bane versus Bio, and I hope that it still has a place in the meta. I hope it still has a place in ZVT. It would be a shame if we saw less of it, just because it's so much fun to watch. Like the back and forth, the ebb and flow of Biomine against the Ling Bane, whether it's Ling Bane Hydra or Ling Bane Muta. I think it's something that a lot of people enjoy, myself included. So yeah, hopefully we get to see some of that tonight. Fingers crossed. For now, Banshee is going to be looking to dive into the main base. Roaches do catch some of these Hellions. One Hellion does go down. Kelazhur moving out with his double drop. He did throw down the third CC. It is a heavily delayed third CC, but it's on the way nonetheless. There we go. Orbital is being morphed in, so Kelazhur will be looking to expand eventually. But in the meantime, Reynor is able to take full advantage of his side of the map. He's joining up on 3 bases. We have a hive on the way. Infestors are coming out. This is what we've been waiting for. So the other big reason as to why roaches are going to be more common is because of the change to the infestors. Infestors now start with more energy. They do not need pathogen glands, or pathogen glands as an upgrade doesn't exist anymore. It's inbuilt by default on these infestors, and that means that we can fungal immediately. As soon as these infestors pop, they can fungal. That is a great way to support these roaches. As the Marines, they push on forward, the fungal will connect. And just like that, Marines are going down. We have 2 more fungals available. And Kelazhur is forced back. So again, infestors are going to play a more vital role here in the early to mid game of ZVT. Whether it's supporting a Roach army or a Ling Bane army. There is that Baliness on the way. So this is what I assumed. So personally, I feel like I'm not saying that it's just going to be Fury Roach Ravager, but I'm pretty sure that Roach openers are going to be common, and then from there we can get into Ling Bane. Once we're safe, and we're safe with the infestors, we're safe with the roaches. These roaches, of course, can be morphed into Ravagers, and they're going to have more utility against these tanks. And there we go, Ravagers are being morphed in. Kelazhur trying to be aggressive here with some multi-pronged aggression, but for the time being, Reynor is able to keep up. Oh, he was able to keep up, but here comes another drop here on the right-hand side. 4 drones go down, and Overlord, and even a couple of roaches. A good pick up here by Kelazhur. Very nicely done. Meanwhile, Reynor, with that fast hive, what are we using the hive for? Vipers. Vipers on the way. We're rushing into Ultras? Okay. Well, that's a good way to skip Ling Bane. Ultra Tech already on the way here from Reynor. Infestors have to be careful. They are looking quite vulnerable here. Kelazhur pushing through the center of the map. Reynor, can he keep up? Can he stop this? Can he slow it down here? As the tanks have been brought forward. So far, Reynor keeping up with the drop here on the right-hand side. On the north, I should say. Forced to pick up, but that's a lot of tanks. 4 tanks pushing through here towards the center. Again, Reynor, he has a couple of Ravagers. Does he have enough? There we go. 1 tank will go down instantly. Good files here from Reynor. Once again, just buying time, pulling back to the safety of those infestors. But it looks like Reynor, he has been zoned away from his hatchery. Base is going to go down. Kelazhur coming in from the right-hand side, pulling Reynor apart. Hatchery will fall. And from here, I like the idea of Kelazhur rotating. Yeah, I don't want him to keep on pushing onto creep. Well, can he catch the infestors? Oh! The infestors, they catch the Marines instead. 2 big fungals, one after the other. Big blinding cloud on the tanks, and it looks like Reynor is coming in from behind, but here come the reinforcements from Kelazhur. Can he get here in time to save the tanks? Oh, he saves 1. Barely does, and this will keep the push going. Meanwhile, that double drop comes in once again. This has been such a thorn in Reynor's side. Drones are falling one after the other, but big fungals are connecting. Oh my god. Massive fungals on these Marines, on these Marauders, and Reynor will hold. Things got close, though. Things got very close. Kelazhur was so close to breaking Reynor. But the Fungals were good. The Biles as well. We get some good tank shots going up on these Ravagers. But the Ultras are on the way. The Viper survived, is gathering up energy for some Blinding Clouds. But Kelazhur is not stopping. He is 8-raxing. He's all in on 3 bases. He does not have a 4th CC. Does not have his gases at his 3rd either. This center base is going to be forfeit. No mining whatsoever. But Reynor, he's just taking these northern bases instead. He's only on a 3-base economy. Again, Reynor, he still only has 3 infestors. As he's forced a long distance mine. Ultras have arrived. They don't have the best upgrades, but they are here nonetheless. Yeah, we're only on 1-2 when it comes to the melee carapace and... Sorry, the plus 1 melee and carapace. As a jump comes in towards the north end, Reynor's being starved out. Another hatchery does get cancelled. Kelazhur looking to pop off. Ultra's going to be able to hold on, but Kelazhur has max. He's just pulling Reynor left and right. Reynor trying to collapse on this position. He's coming in from behind. Biles going to be connecting here on the Liberators. Blinding Clouds as well. And Reynor will clean up this army. But as he cleans up one army, we have another ready to reinforce. Okay, so Kelazhur, he just lost his tanks. He lost his Liberators. He mainly has a bio army and 1 Liberator remaining, but that is going to be enough to break this hatchery. From here, all he has to do, kill this hatchery, back up, and kill the northern base as well. He doesn't have to commit. Meanwhile, Reynor does. Oh, he's trying to engage here. He collapses on this army with Lings, with Ultras. But it's not going to be enough. Pushing off of creep like this, it's not going to work out. And Reynor will lose everything. The Ultras fall, the Ravagers as well. Oh no, he's walled off. He has to kill his own Roach Warren. And yeah, Reynor, he cannot keep up. Hatchery is going to be going down. Reynor being suffocated here on these 3 bases. Trying to make this Ling Ultra Roach Ravager army work. He's going for a big counterattack, but it may be too little too late. As Kelazhur is snowballing out of control. Yeah, Queens are falling. There's only 2 Ultras left. The Lings do manage to get across the map. But again, even if Kelazhur lost all these SCVs, like, his army is standing strong. His army will not die. As Reynor's just being bullied back. A good fungal here on the bio. The best fungal that Reynor could hope for. But despite that, the Ultras will fall one after the other. And Kelazhur is breaking into the natural. And Team Liquid take a massive lead here. Kelazhur takes game 1. GG. Oh my god. Kelazhur, he's like, and this team wants to let me go. True, Bobby, true. Shaking my head. GG. Kelazhur does take the first game here on Gressfan. Really interesting play out of Kelazhur. Remember, he delayed his 3rd base by quite a lot. He was very committed on 2 bases, and that led into a 3-base all-in, of course. Hyper aggression coming out from Kelazhur, and Reynor was having a hard time holding on. I do think that it was a little bit ambitious to tech up into Hive Tech and tech up into Ultras. The Infestors definitely had their place. The Vipers, they had their moments as well. But I do think that taking all the way into Ultras was a little bit too ambitious, a little bit too expensive. And I mean, to be fair, even before that, like winding it back a little bit further, yeah, Reynor was having a hard time just even being in position from the get-go. As soon as Reynor started losing his bases, he could not get a 4th. He could not establish a 4th base at all, just because of how immobile Roach Ravager is. You get caught out of position once, and that can be it. It can all be over from there. So GG, well played. Kelazhur will take game 1, and it's going to be Reynor's map pick next. And where are we going? I'm curious. I'm curious if we're going to go to a map like Altitude, for example. That would be an interesting one for ZVT. I do think that Reynor would have much more breathing room on Altitude, and he does have the option to pick an older map instead of one of the newer maps. So I'm very curious to see what kind of direction Reynor goes in. Meanwhile, when it comes to his playstyle and his compositions, again, a lot of it was dictated by the patch. But I do think that Reynor maybe misread the situation to tech up into Hive and to tech up into Ultras against an Arax. Like, there's no way. There's no shot. There's no shot, Bobby. No shot. Even in the previous patch, like, there's no way you can be that greedy. So, yeah, even a week ago, I feel like Kelazhur would have won that game. I mean, to be fair, Reynor, I'm sure, would have gone for a different composition. But again, I'm pretty sure he just wasn't fully aware of the Arax that was coming towards him. Oh. Regardless, getting ready for game 2. Again, it's going to be Reynor's map pick. It's going to be up to him whether we want to go for an old map or a new map. But Kelazhur, he's already done the bare minimum for his team. Clem started with a 2-0. Kelazhur taking one game. That's all he needed to do. Is there a world where he 2-0s Reynor? Fun fact, we did have some predictions in our Discord server, and I did predict Kelazhur to take a game of Reynor. I believe in Diego, obviously. Have a lot of belief in him. But even I didn't go as far as to say 2-0, so we'll see, as Reynor is going to be going for Ancient Sister. A much larger map, and here we go in the top right hand corner of Ancient Sister, and we have the Brazilian Terran player. For Team Liquid, it is Kelazhur. Diego. And in the bottom left hand corner, we have the Italian Zerg player representing Team Basilisk. It is Reynor. Reynor going full streamer. He's got the blue light on in the background. Let's go. And Kelazhur here in game 2 is looking to spice things up. SCV has been sent out, but only one SCV. Interesting. Very interesting here. So we're going to have one proxy Rax down the map. I think he's going to throw down one Rax back at home, and it's going to be a 2 Rax opener. We have seen this from Beyond. We have seen this from the Korean Terrans. I'm assuming that's what it is, as we give a shout out to the sponsors of WTL. Shout out to Taidu, Doyu, and AutoFool as well for supporting this tournament. Thank you, do appreciate it. And not just supporting WTL, but supporting Kung Fu Cup, and I'm sure Masters Coliseum down the line as well. Once again, Reynor going for the same opener. He's going for a 15 hatch. Hatch first into a spawning pool. Going to be a hatch pool gas opener. Delayed gases mean delayed link speed as well. And Kelazhur does finish up that Rax. He sends out a second SCV. He's going for a proxy 1-1. Diego. We've seen this before. I'm getting flashbacks. Hold up. If Asher were here, he would know. We casted Diego versus Reynor last season in WTL. Was it on Gressfan? I can't remember the map, but Diego did this. It was against Reynor or a laser. But he's going proxy double factory. He's going mass cyclone. Let's go. This is a new variation. I think the last time we saw Diego do something like this, it was a proxy 1-1-1. But this time it's a proxy double factory. Oh my god. So Reynor did go for a hatch pool, which means he has faster queens and faster lings. The lings rock up, and Kelazhur's in a little bit of trouble. These lings, they can do a lot of damage, and Kelazhur, he has to defend with only SCVs. Oh, a rough position to be in. Here we go. We can't afford to lose workers. 2 SCVs go down. A bit of miscontrol out of Kelazhur. Ay. Not a good start here for Diego. Now, what is going to help him is that we have delayed gases, which means delayed link speed, which means delayed roaches. Reynor, he's throwing down spine crawlers back at home. He doesn't quite know what's going on. He does see the gases being taken. I wonder if Reynor has experienced this before, as these lings are doing so much damage. Oh my god, so much lost line time. The cyclones have been revealed. And even if Kelazhur deals with the low ground, that's not enough. He has to go for a kill move. He is all in. As more SCVs are going down. 3 more, 5 in total. Here we go, Kelazhur. He does rock up here with 3 of these cyclones. Link speed still on the way. But these cyclones, they're so fragile. They are glass cannons. They don't have a lot of HP. They don't have a lot of armor even. They do get a lock on, and it looks like they should take down that Spine Crawler. They do outrange the Spine. Oh, that's brutal. Ay, ay, ay. Meanwhile, Link Speed does kick in, and with the power of Link Speed, Reynor is going to shut this down. 1, 2, 3 Cyclones. Every Cyclone is going to be hunted down here. And with this, yeah, Kelazhur, he shakes his head. He knows that he cannot deal with this. And with all that economic damage done earlier, it looks like Reynor should just completely shut down this proxy. Massling is the answer. Again, as we see, like, we try to go for a mule, but it's not going to be enough. Just Cyclones, they're just so fragile here, and even Lings can deal with them. GG gets called. Reynor does take game 2, and we end up with a tied up series 1-1. Oh. There we go. GG. Kelazhur trying to be cheeky in game 2 was unsuccessful, and I mean, despite that though, really good start here. This means that even if Serral 2-0s mana, we get an ace match. Like, this is best case scenario for Team Liquid. For Kelazhur to take a map off of Reynor, that is insane. And I shouldn't write mana off, even though Serral is the best, arguably the best Zerg player in the world. Mana, he has a chance here. If he comes in prepared, he could cause an upset. One map is all he needs. If Mana wins one game, then it's over. Then Team Liquid wins. Team Liquid will win the series if Mana takes one game. We're going to be going on a short break. When we return, we will have Mana versus Serral. See you soon. Serral 2-0s, this will go to an ace match. This will go to a best of one game between our two teams. But if Mana wins one game, he just needs one game, 1 point on the board, and Team Liquid will beat Basilisk, which will be a huge upset, to be honest. Like, coming into this, I feel like a lot of people, they look at Team Basilisk and they're one of the best teams in the league. You know, Team Basilisk, they came second in the previous season. They are insane. But here we go. In the top left-hand corner, we have, for Team Liquid, the Polish Protoss player, Mana. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Finnish Zerg. For Team Basilisk, it is Serral. Oh boy, and we will be saying farewell to some of these older maps as well as Mana. Oh my god. As Mana throws down a pylon at the natural base of Serral. He has not thrown down a forge, by the way, but he does send out a second probe for a proxy. My god, okay, and that is going to be spotted by this Overlord. Of course it would be, because the Overlord does typically stay here at the natural base for Serral, and we have a full wall off with a gateway and a forge. Immediately, Serral throws down his spawning pool. He pulls a couple of boys as well to try to get some surface area on that forge. He diverts his attention to the gateway instead. The gateway is being targeted down. Second pylon is on the way to keep everything powered. Good surface area on that gateway, but a lot of lost mining time here for Serral. And it looks like this gateway should fall, but as it falls, this forge is going to finish, and we will get some cannons up and running. Without the gateway, though, no zealots. Oh boy, and here we go. Cannon is on the way. Gateway is going to fall here to these lings. Sorry, to the lings? To the drones. Behind this, we could throw down a cyber core. We actually don't have... Well, we're not mining any gas. There it is. Cyber core is thrown down. But is this going to work out here? The cannon will finish. Oh my god. As really good target firing there out of Serral. He does focus down that probe. And how is this all going to come together? I guess we can proxy Robo. I guess. That one cannon is going to be able to keep this forge alive, and the cyber core as well. We can go proxy Robo or proxy Stargate. We can go one or the other. Just waiting for the cyber core to finish up before we do kind of pick what kind of tech we go for. For now, additional shield battery, additional cannons are being thrown down here to just wall off his opponent. Because we're on Neo Humanity, yes, Serral, he can just mine out the minerals, so we can just expand and take the linear base instead. We do have that option. There it is. It's going to be a proxy Robo from Mana. But Serral is mining out. Forge is going to fall as well because it is exposed. So no more cannons are going to be available. I love this from Serral because he's mined out that mineral wall. It means that the Lings can counterattack. They can disrupt the mining here of mana. And these cannons are not within range to save these pylons. Pylons are exposed. At the same time, Lings do get across the map. 2 Lings here from Serral. Going to be able to deal with these gas mining workers. Or try to. Oh, so far good control out of mana. Not losing anything yet. Preserving his workers. Robo has been scouted by that Overlord. Immortal is on the way. It's going to be 1 Immortal. I'll be honest, I'm not fully convinced by this proxy from mana. I'll be real here. I'm not sold on it. Like, I feel like we don't really have any pressure. Like, I feel like Serral he's free to just saturate his bases. Even if the Immortal arrives, the Immortal can't do anything on its own. We need a Prism. Just because of the wall. Oh, there we go. Immortal actually able to break through for a moment. 1 lone Immortal. Spine Crawlers are saved. Yeah, Serral, no Roach Warren, by the way. Interesting choice. Serral is going for a Queen Ling response instead. Good chance users keeping that Spine Crawler alive. The hatchery is under threat. No Ling speed. Serral just now gets 100 gas, and there we go. Ling speed is on the way. This is heavily delayed for Serral. So without Ling speed mana, he has potential. He could potentially break through. The Immortal just chipping away at that at that hatchery. Ling's getting ready for a round. No, they're going for a big counterattack instead. That's the problem with this map. But the hatchery is getting very low and the natural base goes down. Good amount of damage done here by mana. But again, because we're on this map, the Lings, they go for a counterattack. There's no forge, no cannons. Mana's main is in a lot of danger. As he attempts to break into the main base of Serral. Yeah, Ling's gonna waddle in, and what can Mana do? He's got some good juggling going on. But yeah, the Lings, they will take control of the main base, forced to recall back home. Giving Serral, a lot of breathing room. And Serral, he goes for a proxy hatch across the map. Let's go. A ninja base. As Lings continue to flood out. Immortal? Wait, what? Random Immortal caught out of the map is going to go down to these Lings. I don't know how the Immortal ended up there. I think maybe a miss rally, but yeah, a little bit of a misstep there from Mana. Losing a free Immortal. Speaking of, yeah, these Immortals, I guess Mana intentionally sent it out looking for hatcheries? Question mark? That's an expensive scout. As Serral has just been building up these queens, and he's setting up a Nidus to get across the map to look to end the game. As Lings, they come across the Stargate, they will force a cancel. And the Immortals, they're scouting. He's looking for other bases. Little does he know that a Nidus is about to rock up across the map in the main base of Mana. I think enough time has passed where he will have another recall available. But even with a recall, I don't know if Mana has enough to deal with those queens. Oh, another surround. Not enough to kill the Immortal. I think we're up to 3 Immortals. There we go, the queens, they are... Oh no, they were stuck for a moment, but they're getting across the map. Into the main base. Creep is spreading. Lings are coming out as well. There is 1 shield battery. But that's not Chosen's pylon, and yeah, the pylon is going to go down. Shield battery is depowered. Lings flood in, and the main base of Mana is going to fall. And Mana can't really do much about it. He does come across the ninja base of his opponent, So he's able to at least keep Serral on one base. But Serral's one base is still greater than the 0 bases of Mana. As Lings attempt to escape, Serral chasing... Sorry, Probes attempt to escape. Serral chasing them down with those Lings. It looks like a couple of Probes will make it out. Let's see, there are 2 Probes left. Up, 1 Probe left, and I think the last Probe will fall. Okay, we have 2 left. We have 2 left here, covered by the shield batteries and the cannons. Oh, and he's spending his last resources here on 2 more shield batteries. That's it. Those are the last buildings. This outpost is all that Mana has. But if Serral wants to win the game, he has to break that position. Now, to be fair, Serral doesn't have to fight. If Serral wanted to, he could literally put everything in the Nidus and go across the map. Like, Serral, he doesn't have to fight here, but he will. Here we go. The Lings, they go for a full surround. The juggling. No, not good enough. The prism goes down. Oh. And Serral will take game number 1 in a game of StarCraft. In a very interesting ZVP. As that was a very quirky all-in from Mana, very quirky proxy robo. There was potential with it. Unfortunately, because of the map, because of Neo-Humanity, because there are minerals that you can mine through, it means that Serral does have a way to just counterattack, even without Dropper Lords, even without a Nidus. He could just send his Lings across the map, and that was enough to disrupt the economy and to really put a wrench in the works for Mana. He was having a really hard time defending at home and also keeping the pressure up across the map as well. So it's just a really awkward, all-in from Mana that Serral was able to. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Polish Protoss player representing Team Liquid. It is Mana. And in the top left-hand corner, we have for Team Basilisk, the Finnish Zerg player, Serral. Mana like 300 ELO above Bjorn. Yeah, well, I mean, Bjorn, he's washed, papi. Oh, copium. I don't know why this, again, we mentioned it at the time. I think they were just really harsh on the Shopify players because Shopify didn't do well last season. Like Shopify Rebellion, they really did struggle in WTL. So I think the WTL admins, they were harsh, mate. They were so harsh on them. My God. I wouldn't be surprised if they add some team performance into the ELO rating as well. Regardless, Serral going for a hatch gas spool opener. And talking about the map a little bit, I do think this makes sense. When it comes to Mana, he's a very quirky Protoss player. He very rarely plays standard. And I wouldn't be surprised if specifically on this map, he plans on going Skytoss. We spoke about this during the Sparkling Tuna Cup cast. But there are 2 maps in the new map pool that feel really favored towards turtle play. That is Radhasit Station and Golden Aura. These 2 maps, it is very easy, or it is much easier to take a 3rd and take a 4th and hold on to them on these 2 maps, just because of how small they are, just because of how congested and how narrow these entry points are. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mana does plan on going into Skytoss, but we'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Just because we've seen that a couple of times doesn't mean that Mana is also of the same thought. It's something to have in the back of your mind, though. Just because of the defensive properties of this map. Regardless, we are, again, getting into some standard openers here. Gate Expanded is going to be a Stargate opener out of Mana, which is still looking quite normal. Now, alarm bells are going to be flaring if we do see something like a Void Ray first or a Phoenix first. If we see that, then clearly Mana wants to hide his follow-up and hide his tech. And that follow-up, it could be a Fleet Beacon, it could be even a Twilight Council into Glaive Adepts, if he were to go in that direction. As the Ling is going to be able to slip past into the main base, and Serral does get confirmation that it is going to be a Stargate opener out of Mana. He's aware. And our first unit of choice, what is it gonna be? Ooh, it is a Void Ray. Okay, piece of the puzzle. As I mentioned before, alarm bells if we do see a Void Ray or a Phoenix. So clearly Mana wants to hide what comes next. He wants to keep Serral in the dark and shut down that Overlord. Again, this is how you would start going into Skytoss, but this doesn't have to be. As I mentioned before, this could still be into, you know, a third base, into Twilight Council, into Glaive Adepts. This could be Void Ray into Oracle, you know, just to hide the Oracle and to have it have more of a surprise factor and do economic damage. And there we go. Is going to be an Oracle next. Thank God. As Oracle is on the way. The first Void Ray, of course, is going to be hunting down whatever Overlords we can find. Whatever Overlords we can get our hands on. And there we go. One Overlord will fall. At least one. Mana gets in position to protect his third base. Behind this, we have another Gateway. Oracle for economic damage. Forge is on the way. Let's go. 4+1. Twilight Council looking to be +1 Blink, or it could be +1 Charge. We'll see what kind of direction Mana goes in. But standard play. Something that I don't get to see enough of from Mana. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Do appreciate it. As Serral back at home, he's just droning. He does have a couple of Lings that are active on the map. Safety Roach Warren is thrown down as well at around the 4 minutes 35 mark. Quite an early Roach Warren, but again, it is designed to be defensive and to be out in time in case it was a Glaive Adept follow-up. Ooh, as the Oracle gets across the map and gets 2 drone kills. Good amount of damage, as I believe the Oracle does survive. At the same time, Lings do get across the map. They get a surround, and this shield battery will fall. Good pick off here from Serral, as the Oracle did make it back home. 2 drone kills for hull damage. Not ideal for Mana, but he does at least keep the Oracle alive. He's regenerating those shields, and he's going to be able to move out once again, as it is not Blink, it is Charge. So Charge Lot Archon is going to be the composition from Mana. With that, he could hit a really nasty timing with Archons, actually, once we throw down the Templar Archives. Interesting. Mana's actually getting to really early Immortal production. This could be the beginnings of a 3-base all-in. To begin Immortals this early on is really interesting, because by the time he does end up working towards Archons, and by the time he pushes, he will have, what, 3-4 Immortals? Meanwhile, as Mana's keeping up and keeping tabs on the Protoss player, Spire is thrown down. Okay, so if Mana were to bank up his gases, he has taken all 6 gases, by the way, so he does plan on trying to go into a Muta Switch. If this stays hidden, then this could completely catch Mana off guard. Mana, unfortunately, doesn't have Blink Stalkers. Remember, he skipped Blink. He went for Charge instead. No Phoenixes. Does have a Stargate, so if he sees this, he can start Phoenix production. And that Templar Archives is designed for Archons. Potentially, Mana could push out before Mutas pop. He could try to kill Serral before the Mutas really impact this game. But he doesn't know about the Spire. If Mana knew about the Spire, then he can hit a timing, but... Oh, he was unaware. Did he scout it? Oh! It looks like he did. He does have eyes on the Spire, and there we go. Phoenixes are on the way. Second Stargate for double Phoenix production, and Mana throws down the 4th. So Mana, he is looking to turtle up. Looking to turtle, defend, and tech. Ooh, but Serral gets a full surround on the 4th base, and he will force a cancel. No, oh god. Those Immortals were looking very exposed for a moment. But they are saved by the Archons, thank god. Oracles, they dip back in, they get a couple of worker kills before recalling back home. They will escape. Now it's on Serral. Now the onus is on Serral here to get some damage done with these Mutas. What do we have to defend? We have a couple of Archons with the main army. We have Phoenixes banking up in the main. We have shield batteries on the way. A low Phoenix count though. So these Mutas, they will kill workers. They could even kill the Phoenixes. Speaking of, one Phoenix goes down instantly. Oh, a bit of miscontrol from Mana. A little bit too cavalier with that Phoenix. 4, 5, 6 probes, 8 probes. Oh my god, almost the entire mineral line. 11, 12 workers go down. Another Phoenix takes a big hit to the face. Big lay volley. And Serral is getting even more done at the third. 17, 18 probes go down. This is already game ending. This is already more than enough to have these mutants pay for themselves. And they're not done. They are nowhere near being done. And as Mana is struggling to keep up with these mutas, we have another army, another force from Serral looking to lay siege upon that fourth. And Mana's out of position. We get a surround. That fourth base is going to fall. And it looks like, yeah, Serral, he's just successfully pulled Mana apart. Crippled the economy. With the death of the economy, I mean, we just don't have an army. And these mutas, they're not done. They're getting more. We had over 20 probe kills. And we get 6 more mutas. I mean, Phoenixes as well. Oof. And just like that, Mana, he's all in. Like, there is no macroing out of this. There is no shot, no way for Mana to macro out of this game. He's lost his fourth. He's lost over 30 probes. GG gets called. We will not even have a fight as Serral takes the series 2-0. And he does force the ace match. GG. Mana, he just needed one win. And game one was a good chance for that. It was a good opportunity. Oh, it's a seal. It was a good opportunity, but alas, Mana just wasn't able to pull it off. And just like that, we're going all the way to game 7. We are tied up 3-3 between Team Basilisk and Team Liquid. And it all comes down to this final game. Let me just double check here. The map of choice is going to be, Altitude. Largest map in the previous map pool. Altitude is going to be the map of choice. And it has to be Serral versus Clem, right? Serral versus Clem on Altitude. I'm curious. So, on the one hand, Altitude is a good map for Zerg because you're given a lot of room out on the map to engage and get surrounds and punish the army. But at the same time, because it's so large and because you can take so many bases, personally, I've casted a lot of Clem playing mech. I've seen a lot of Clem's mech in my day, okay? It's scarred me for life. Would we see that here on Altitude? Potentially. I mean, I would prefer bioplay, don't get me wrong. I would love to see some bioplay, but mech is an option. It's the new patch. The new Cyclones are an option as well. We'll see what Clem decides to go for, as Clem is well-versed with the new Cyclone. He did win the most recent Wardy patch tournament. That was, of course, before the Cyclone was nerfed, because Clem did win with just pure Cyclone, essentially. Did kill many a Zerg player with it. So he's very familiar. He's very intimately familiar with the new, or with the previous Cyclone. What about this new one, though? Is he willing to mass it up, or do we have something else on the table? And again, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, you know? Is it not going to be Clem versus Serral? Is it going to be 5? Maybe once a tournament? We get to see them from players like Reynor and Serral and Dark and trade well. That's the problem. It's just their ability to snipe. Like, they're already so good at it, and now it's that much easier to pull in mutas, mass muta especially, even overcome Phoenixes, even from the best Protosses in the world. So, yeah, watch yourself. Clowns in the chat. Ay. As we are getting into this set, let's go! It is going to be Clem versus Serral. The ZVT we all wanted, Papi. We all wanted. ELOs are being showcased, and we're diving right into game number 1. And in the top right-hand corner of Altitude, we have the French Terran player representing Team Liquid. It is Clem. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have representing Team Basilisk, the Finnish Zerg player. It is Serral. And here we go. Clem setting up for a low ground rack. So we're going to be getting into a 2-racks opener. I do hope so, but we'll see what kind of direction Clem goes in. Meanwhile, back at home, Serral going for a hatch gas pool setup. Standard opener from our Zerg player. Meanwhile, Clem looking to be a little bit more assertive here, and in a way a little bit more greedy. I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be a Rax into. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be a Rax into factory. We have seen Special and Gumiho be quite fond of it. It is kind of a greedier way to open up, but it allows you to have a safer and more secure natural here as you just rely on your factory to wall off, and it looks like that's what we're seeing. So Rax is now done. Should be getting into the CC, followed by a full wall off here at the natural. Oh boy, still a little bit too early to determine like what kind of direction Clem wants to take this in, whether bio heavy or mech heavy. As there's that factory to wall off. Again, like this is an opener that we have seen quite a lot from some of these other Terran players. It hasn't quite been too popular enough to be really considered meta, but we're not unfamiliar with it. As the first Reaper is moving out across the map, we have a full wall off here at the natural as well. We are safe as we get into it. Likewise, Serral's going to be scouting. He does confirm one of the Raxes, does spot the factory as well. So he knows he's safe enough where there aren't a mass amount of Reapers that he has to contend with. As Clem does begin his dance. Doesn't quite get the drone. Gets close, though. Does get close to taking down that drone. But alas, does back off. So get into our add-on swap. And here we go. It is not going to be Hellion production. It's going to be Cyclone production in the early game. But we're going into additional Reapers. Okay. Clem, you have my attention. Additional Reapers and Cyclones on the way. There's going to be a lot of pressure here for Serral. I mentioned earlier that Clem did, I believe he won the patch tournament that Wardy did host a little bit ago. So Clem is very familiar with a lot of these changes. Very familiar with the Cyclone. As he dips into the main base. Once again, almost getting a drone, but Serral does pull it back in time. And we are not massing Cyclones. Okay, so it's going to be 2 Cyclones into 2 Hellions. But I like this. So the Cyclones, they have a lot of DPS, obviously. They have a lot of power behind them. And they're going to be the backbone, the core unit here of this initial army. We do, of course, have to preserve them. We have to keep them safe. Cyclones do reveal themselves as the queens are knocked off of the creep. And 1 queen does go down. Can we get the second? Oh, 2 queens already. This is snowballing out of control. 3rd queen is going to fall as well. And what does Serral have left? Aye. 1 queen remaining here on the high ground. And as soon as we get the lock on, the queen is going to fall. We have Lings amassing. Boys, they have to be pulled. But pulling boys into Hellions, that is not ideal. As Ling speed has kicked in and we do try to surround the Hellions, the Cyclones. 1 Cyclone will go down. 2nd Cyclone, Serral will hold. But that was close. And these Hellions, they still threaten these Lings. So the pressure is not over. But for the most part, Serral shouldn't die anytime soon. Serral, he has enough Lings to punish these Hellions if they dive in. But that was a scary moment. Behind this, we have a 2-1-1 setup. Stim is on the way. We are prioritizing a starport. This is the beginnings. It feels like a 2-base all-in because Clem has not started at the 3rd. There is no 3rd CC from Clem. As the Hellions, they bypass the Lings. They go straight for the natural. No! Serral is out of position. Completely out of position. 5, 7, 8 drones go down, and we can keep on going. Ling's going to try to come in here to deal with this. 11 workers in total. These Hellions are trapped. They should be dealt with. We shouldn't be getting any more worker kills as they try to make their way into the main, but the queens are here to zone them away. Oh. As the Hellions do fall. 12 workers. Honestly, a pretty good setup here for the mid game for Clem. Especially because these Hellions, they do kind of run out of value here as the game goes on. There is that 3rd CC on the way, but we prioritize the starport. So because of the faster starport, we will be hitting the field sooner. Clem keeping the pressure up. Medevacs are about to finish up, and once they do, he can move out with these Marines. Serral is not out of the woods yet. Stim is done. Now, the onus is on Clem to do more damage. The reason why I say that, it's really good. He killed 12 workers. That's crazy. That's insane. He's been keeping the queen count low as well. but he has to do this because of his delayed third, because of his delayed economy. Here we go. The drop has arrived. We're going to be able to take down a couple of these creep tumors, threaten the mineral line as well. There are a lot of queens though. He has to respect them. So he will drop into the main, but the Lings are in position as well. So far, a good defense by Serral. Now, Serral is behind economically. We have an even worker count. Well, actually, Clem is just straight up ahead in workers. Bearing in mind that mules also come into play, so Clem maintains a solid economic lead. Behind this, Serral is opening up roaches. Roaches on the way, roach speed as well. This is what I was worried about, but this does seem to be the go-to opener currently in ZVT, is to go roaches. We saw it from Reynor, and we're seeing it here from Serral as well. Ooh, as Serral is attempting to set up a counterattack. But alas, Clem, his reinforcements are in position. He's still being very active with this double drop, cleaning up even more of this creep. At the same time, here comes that link counterattack. The mines! Up! Oof. Thankfully, we avoid the friendly fire. That could have been disastrous. That could have been disastrous for Clem. But I do think he manually targeted those. He manually targeted those Widow Mines. Kept his SCVs alive. Ooh, meanwhile, across the map, it looks like while Clem was distracted, he lost his Marines. The medevac survived, but yeah, 16 Marines went down. Oof. One medevac went down as well. A brutal loss for Clem. A big mistake from our Terran player, and that does give Serral a little bit more momentum coming into this. He's working on his fourth. Now, Serral is still behind economically, but killing a full medevac is huge. It means that suddenly there's a lot less pressure on him. And here we go. We have those 3 safety infestors on the way. As we mentioned in the Reynor series, these infestors, once they pop out, they do have enough energy for one fungal leech, as pathogen glands is no longer an upgrade in the game. It is applied by default. And this is also another big reason as to why roach openers are going to be they're going to be a lot more prevalent. Because these infestors, they can support them oh so well. As the drops are being deflected, the infestors are coming out. Now, it's only 3 infestors. Now, this is a stepping stone. It's not like Serral's end game is roach infestor. No, not at all. His end game is hive tech. Hive is on the way. This is going to be to gain access to vipers, to gain access to adrenal glands. Now, we saw that when Reynor went for this style, he actually used the hive to go into ultras. But because we're working on range upgrades, not melee upgrades, I wouldn't be opposed to something like even lurker tech. So roach infestor into hydro lurker. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of direction we go in. We'll see if we invest into +2 range or +1 melee. There it is, Hydroden. So Serral is not going ultras. He is setting up for Hydra Lurker Viper. Can he make it that far, though? Can he survive long enough to get there? As he is taking up heavily. 5th base is on the way. Likewise, Clem going to be landing his 4th. Clem, because of the early game, like his economy is looking very solid, and I still would give the edge to Clem. It's more about Serral surviving more than anything. Serral's going to try to catch some of these Marines. Gets a couple of Marauders as well. Serral shocking around with those infestors before backing off. Again, I don't see Serral pushing in. I think he's kind of like puffing up his chest and trying to force Clem to back up and take a defensive position. Meanwhile, Lurker Den is on the way. Vipers as well. Burrow. Serral, he's just taking up as much as he can, and he needs to make sure that Clem doesn't move out. Because if he did, Clem would be cool with his pants. Sorry, Serral would be cool with his pants down. Like, Serral, he's still not with an ideal army. Here we go. He's going for a bit of a roach counterattack. He needs to get rid of the supply. He needs to get rid of these roaches to make room for hydras and lurkers. Now, Serral doesn't want to throw away the roaches, but he needs to trade them as best he can. Ooh, as he does snipe one ghost. Good trade here from Serral. As we're pointing out, 3-3 hasn't quite started for Clem. He does have 2-2. Fungals are going to be connecting, getting a couple of Marines, nothing too major. But again, behind this, Lurker upgrades, Hydra upgrades on the way. Hydra's in production. There we go. Our first wave of Lurkers are coming in. 6 Lurkers for Serral. Serral, he has successfully survived long enough for him defended and kind of, in a way, baked his way into this Lurker tech. And was stuck at home, finally pushing out. Let's see what he can get done. Lurkers are repositioning. They have arrived in time, but here we go. We already have the ghosts. One Lurker gets sniped. Good EMP on the Vipers. And Clem, it does feel like he just has a superior army. Another snipe goes off, getting another Lurker, and we just don't have that many of them. We had, what, 4 Lurkers in total? And 2 of them are here on the right-hand side. They will be able to hold on against this drop at least. But the flank on the left is looking that much weaker for Serral. He's got 1 Lurker in the backline, and it does get sniped. He's got 2 more morphing in. Serral trying to hold on. Good fungal on the ghosts. There was no follow-up. Infestor slipping in from behind. We're going to catch a fungal if possible. As more snipes go off. Here we go. The Vipers likewise coming in. Fungals will connect. Good EMP. EMP connects with those Vipers. We have a massive line of tanks behind this. And Serral cannot push off a creep. Not like this. He's going for it though. Lings are coming in. He takes down 3, 4 tanks. And yeah, it looks like Clem only has a tank army. He doesn't have enough to support it. No Marines. Only ghosts. And these are very efficient trades for Serral, taking down so many tanks really just for Lings. Very back and forth trade. Now Serral, he lost a lot of his value units here. He lost his I lost a couple of investors, kept his Vipers alive, thankfully. I don't think he has any more ghosts remaining. Sorry, any more Lurkers remaining. So he do land a fungal. More infestors on the way. Lurker is going for a counterattack instead. Gonna be as annoying as possible. Again, the goal here from Serral is force Clem to turn around. Because Clem, he's up in supply. He's up 20 army supply right now, which is huge. But he's at home. He's at home dealing with, these borrowed units, these Lurkers. Serral is buying time to rebuild his army. As this Lurker count is now getting pretty impressive. We're up to, what, 10 plus Lurkers at this point. This time, Serral will have a much more solid defense. It's going to be that much more difficult for Clem to push in. He's getting his 5th base. And now Clem, he scans ahead of time. He sees the massive amount of Lurkers waiting for him. Infestor from behind. Getting ready for that fungal. Good use of these Marines. 2 drones go down. Very nicely done. Ooh, and Serral, he is avoiding the main army. He's sending everything across the map. Lurkers and Lings. And Clem is out of position now. Do we commence a base trade or does Clem turn around? And it looks like he decides to turn back around. Oh, but Serral has the high ground. Big spine shots go off. Massive connections. A lot of Marines are going down already. Serral out positioning Clem and pushing up this ramp. Oh my god, Clem is losing everything. Yeah, he's losing just far too much. I mean, the ghost snipes are going off. He will clean up these Lurkers. But that was not the best trade from Clem. Meanwhile, Lings bust into the natural. SCVs are falling. Lurker at the 4th base as well. Chaos everywhere. But Serral is also being cleaned up. And again, it was quite a back and forth here. Serral, he got some really good connections with those ghosts and with those Marines, but he also lost a lot of Lurkers. As you can see, both players plummeted in supply. Pretty comparable with each other. I'm sure for Serral that was ideally going to be like a game-winning move, but a lot of the ghosts did live. They made it out. Clem is still in this. He is stabilizing. Once again, Lurker harass on both the third base and the fifth base as well. Again, Serral doing everything he can to keep Clem busy, to disrupt his economy. Meanwhile, Serral is respreading his creep. He's working on +3. We do have a massive Ling army here on the left-hand side. Trying to collapse on this army. Powerbomb here on the Medivacs as well. As the Lurkers push on forward. Oof. But they push into Ghosts. Not ideal, but again, that was really a distraction. Meanwhile, Lurker harass continues. Serral getting a couple of SCVs. Nothing major. I think 2 SCVs. Oh, but Clem has had enough. He's had enough defending. Is he aware of these Lurkers? Not quite. This Doom drop is going to be spotted by Serral. Serral also has control of the Zonaga. Clem are going to try to pull Serral apart now. Going to put Serral on the back foot. Got a couple of Banelings here to help defend. Lurkers across the map still harassing, being such a nuisance. Serral does hold on. But now we're getting into more infestors. 3-3 is kicking in. With +3 melee finishing up for Serral. He's been able to build up his Lurker count again. He's got a decent infestor count. Pushing into Serral is still going to be a difficult thing to do. And as Clem starts that push, he has to come back. Because Serral is going for a big counterattack on the right-hand side. Doesn't quite achieve much with it, though. It gets cleaned up. We didn't get to see it, but it happened. Clem did shut it down. Oh, Scan does take down a full energy infestor. Very good pick off by Clem. You see Serral falling back, relying more on a Ling Bane Hydra army. Another infestor gets caught. And here we go, Serral, he's collapsing in. He's diving on this position again. We just didn't have enough supply here, enough reinforcements. The tanks do get swallowed up. The ghosts do survive, though. Oh, and Serral is being forced back. And big snipes are going to be going off. Serral does have a bank to work with. And we do have a fungal. Up! Up! We go for it, and we will connect with those ghosts. Big pickoffs, big catch here from Serral, and Serral is going to be able to clean up these tanks, get on top of the ghosts. And this may just be it. That may have just been the winning fight here for Serral. And a massive fungal, and Clem suddenly has to give up this position, give up the base. More tanks are going down. And now Clem is on the back foot. Serral's got a solid economy, he's got a solid bank, he's got a 2k gas bank, Jesus. Taking the gold. Things were very back and forth for a while, but Serral finally got the fight that he wanted. All it took was one good fungal on those ghosts. And I do appreciate that Serral, he's basically stopped making Lurkers. He's gone for a much more mobile, flexible army to take advantage of these fungals. Ling Bane Hydra. The tried and true. As he manages to yoink some of these tanks in. Rolling on forward as well. We have some good splits here from Clem, but there's just too much on the ground. An overwhelming Zerg army, and Serral will take the game and will win this Team League match for Team Basilisk. GG. GG, well played. Serral falling back to Ling Bane Hydra, of course, doesn't fail you. But if you remember, when it came to that final fight, or the fight that mattered, it did come down to the fungal, it did come down to the engagement, it did come down to the fact that even though both armies or both players had similar supplies, a lot of the tanks were looking pretty exposed for Clem. There just wasn't a lot of buffer, wasn't a lot to support him, so he did end up losing that position, and things snowballed very quickly out of control. GG, well played. Serral will take down Clem and win it here for his team. Congratulations.